name is Jade, and I was chosen to pattern test the Rodeo Star top by the Good Murph. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna be using a fabric that I bought at Josephine's Dry Goods in Southeast Portland. A store I've only been to twice, and the second time when I chose that fabric, they were super helpful, and I don't know, I feel like it helped me choose something that I wouldn't have normally chosen but really like. It's like a black denim, and the like underneath layer is like kind of a yellowy ochre gold color that's really pretty, and I can't wait to work with it. The fabric's in the wash right now. This is the pattern in question and the fabric in question. Now I'm gonna get started taping together and cutting out the pattern pieces. Alright, so I'm about a third done with taping the pattern together, and it's going pretty smoothly. One could say it's not my first rodeo taping together patterns. Okay, dad joke over. Okay, one thing I will say is that I don't own a printer, so, and I live a few blocks away from a library, so I print all my patterns at the library. But the library's been having this printing issue where everything prints double-sided, whether you want it to or not. So I have to print out each pattern twice, and then I'm constantly flipping it, trying to figure out what goes to what. So that's like my only difficulty, but you know, in spite of that, it's still, you know, going together pretty easily. I'm getting used to it. And you know, you gotta love the library for free printing, 100 pages a day. Okay, I just had to show you my cat. She's being so cute and sitting on my pattern paper. I took a little break to take my cat for a walk because it was a nice day. Look at her going into other people's yards. Okay, so I am done taping my pattern together and have started cutting it out. My housemate is making soup, so the whole house smells like heaven. It smells exactly like fall. Just some issue about this pattern. It ranges in sizes from A to P. The smallest bust it can do is 28 inches, and the largest bust it can do is 57.5 inches. I am between sizes. I have a 38-inch bust, and E is a 37.5-inch bust, F is a 39-inch bust, and in the sizing guide she suggests sizing down because it is intended to have a looser fit, and if I make the size up it'll probably be too big, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm doing size E. Okay, so here I am cutting out the pattern pieces. It was pretty easy, other than that they kept starting to fall apart. If I'm gonna be real, I kind of hate printing and cutting out paper patterns, mostly just the cutting out. Like once it's putting it together is totally fine, but once you're cutting it out, the pieces start to fall apart and you have to tape them together again, and I find it so annoying. Oh yeah, an example of said falling apart piece. I am all done cutting it out. This is day 2 of my journey with the rodeo star top. I started by pinning my pieces to my fabric. No, I didn't make a muslin or anything. What can I say? I'm a lazy sewer, and I just kind of hope things are going to work out for the best. I'm a little bit of an optimist, you could say, in that way. Sat upon his knee, that's where she sat. The girls would dance for him, and every move a treat. They'd move and move and move, but never move their feet. 1,000 girls would dance each day with lots of tips. I'm done pinning for now, and I'm gonna make the first few cuts. I wanted to pin everything down, but several things need to be pinned on the bias, and I need to cut 2 sleeves, and they're both cut on the fold, which I honestly haven't seen in a sleeve before, but I think it means it's gonna be really poofy, and I love a poofy sleeve, so I'm excited. If I'm cutting out a larger piece, I love to use a book as a pattern weight. I have a ton of coffee table books of vintage images that are really good for doing that with. It means I get to use less pins, which I have a cat that loves to eat pins and needles, so it's a blessing when I can use less pins, so I have less to keep track of. Update on the blouse. I have got everything cut out, and I started sewing it together. Here's the back. I did the 2 princess seams on the back. It needs to be ironed real bad. Here's the first front piece. I did the princess seam on the front, on both fronts. My one concern is like, I wonder if I feel like on all of them, there's like this little notch, see, like I didn't get it to stretch far enough, but one piece is so much larger than the other one, and I've like stretched, and I've worked with princess seams before, but I don't seem to ever have quite the knack for getting it to go perfect without the little notch being there. I am at the step where I am gonna sew my neck facing together. The other day, which was a few days ago, because admittedly this has been a long week for me because I just started class, I sewed the side seams and the shoulder seams together on the bodice, and I'm gonna do the neck facing, and then I'm gonna attach the neck facing. That's like my goal for tonight. Alright, I am ironing. I am using a footstool or footrest and a pillow to do it because I don't have an ironing board right now. And it works just fine. That's Milo. He's my house cat. He loves to get in the way of things. He also likes to tack pant legs. He's kind of naughty as far as cats go, but he's very sweet. sew the facing onto the neck now. On my trusty vintage sewing machine. Right, I'm gonna pin together the hem facing. What do you feel about it? It's starting to look like a shirt almost. Everyone, this is day 5, I think, of working on the rodeo star top. I am nearing the finish line. I have a lot of like raw edges that, not raw edges, like little threads I need to like cut or sew in, and then I also need to attach the sleeves, make an elastic casing, attach the elastic, do the buttons and the buttonholes. My sewing machine is too old and therefore does not have a buttonhole attachment, which means I'm gonna have to do all buttonholes by hand. I used to really hate it, but the longer I've sewn for, the more I've grown to sort of enjoy doing them by hand. It's kind of meditative and I do it while I watch a show. Anyway, just thought I'd catch you up. At this point, I started taking a lot of clips of me sewing because I realized that I hadn't done that many. Another thing, I have a serger, just bought it, but I have been unable to get it to thread correctly, and I'm having exactly the same threading problem as with my old one, which is one of the lower loopers. I just cannot get it right. And so I've been finishing the entire project with pinking shears. It's been messy, but I think it's gonna work okay. Day 6, I believe, of working on this blouse. I attached the sleeves yesterday? No, day before, yes. No, it was yesterday. So I'm gonna be threading the elastic through to give them that puff. And then I have to do the buttons. And then I am done, which is crazy. I probably won't finish today just because I have to do the buttonholes by hand, and that always takes me forever. But it's still exciting to be so close to the finish line and before the test or deadline of the 10th. Alright, I have my 2 pieces of elastic, one for each arm. I'm hoping I didn't make them too tight. And I'm gonna thread them through the casings. It is day 7, I believe, and I smell of cat food. I just got finished giving my cat a late night snack, and I am going to be sewing the elastic casings entirely shut now that I have threaded the elastic through, which was quite a hassle because I realized I had sewn the casing shut on accident, and also the elastic kept getting, the safety pin kept coming undone, and the elastic therefore was stabbed by the safety pin into the middle of the casing. And when I pulled out one elastic, it turned out my other elastic was also hidden inside of the same sleeve. So I'm really glad I have them both. They're where they're supposed to be, and I'm nearing the end of adding elastic. I always like the fit of elastic and the comfort, but putting it in sometimes intimidates me a little bit. Or maybe I just don't like it a little because of threading it through the casing. I did this one pair of pants where they had you not do that, but then the pants waistband ended up kind of funky. So I don't really know if there's winning with elastic. You just kind of have to accept it's not perfect, but it does the job, or at least that's what I've accepted. And oops, I realized I actually did not sew the other pieces of elastic together. My bad. So I'm gonna be doing that in a sec. I'm watching The Pursuit of Love, the miniseries on Amazon while I do it. I just reread the book and I remembered how good the miniseries was and wanted to keep a good thing going. I also read Love in a Cold Climate because I have like a book that's like an omnibus with both in them, and it's really making me want to reread all of Nancy Mitford's work. She is such a fun writer.
I do. It was a happy time, and I got happily married to Alfred Winship. Then a young daughter.
I find hand sewing so relaxing. Maybe it's because that's how everyone starts learning how to sew. I know it's how I did, but it just feels so like comforting to do. I'm at the most fun part of the sewing process and the least fun part. The most fun part is I'm choosing buttons from my little box of vintage and antique buttons. And the least fun part is that I'm gonna have to sew like 8 buttonholes, and they all have to be by hand because my machine doesn't do buttonholes. So it's gonna be a lot of sewing, but I'm really looking forward to being done. Here I am sewing on the buttons that I chose from my button jar. Progress so far. I love the white buttons. Okay, here's the progress. So far, it looks done, but it's not. I've actually only sewn one of the buttonholes, and the rest are just raw currently. But it's fun to see how it's gonna look, and yeah. I just tried on the blouse for the first time since I started making it, which admittedly is kind of a risky choice, but it turned out fine. It fits really well. The one thing is the sleeves are like kind of crazy. I'm glad I chose like a very subdued fabric for this top, because if it were both patterned and had these like big sleeves, I don't know if I could do it. Like, I knew they were voluminous puff sleeves and I liked that about them, but I think in the denim maybe it's just so structured that it makes it huge, like bigger than the 1940s 30s puff sleeve, which is simply pretty puffy, like more like 80s territory. It's kind of wild. I think it definitely will get worn and is cute. It's just a lot more puffy than I was expecting. But maybe I also need to attach the elastic on the sleeves because I think it's a little loose and that might kind of like nip it in a bit. So it might just be on me making the elastic too loose, which I always do. Day 8, I believe, back in the old salt mills doing yet more buttonholes. I wish I had buttonhole twists. I have a bunch back of vintage buttonhole twists that I got in a estate sale, but it's all back in Seattle or area with my mom in her house. I have so much of my vintage and antique stuff stored there right now. It would be so useful. Maybe I could buy some at a nearby store, though. I could look into it. I just don't know if normal thread is gonna cut it, but maybe I'm worrying too much. I have larger problems i.e. my elastic is still too loose, and somehow I've made a bunch of weird yellow lines on this. I don't know how it happened, and I don't think they're gonna come out, so I'm probably gonna have to take a dark fabric marker and just kind of color over them. I just called a fabric store looking for buttonhole twist. They didn't seem to know what that is, which is making me wonder, does anyone use buttonhole twist anymore? Like, is that a thing still? Comment below if you know what buttonhole twist is or use it. Other thing, but God, I love my mismatched buttons. They make me so happy. They're like basically all the same size, which is, you know, not that exciting, but I like all the different holes. Like, some have 4 holes, some have 2 holes, some have really close together holes, and some have kind of far apart holes. So I like all the variation happening here. Just something I feel the need to throw out, because like a lot of this video, it seems like I'm complaining, and I genuinely love sewing and genuinely love this project that I'm working on. So I don't want to give the wrong impression. Alright, all I have left to do is take the elastic, or make a small hole in the elastic casing, yank out the elastic, make it smaller, and then sew back in and sew up the casing again. And then I will be completely done with my shirt. I did all of the buttonholes, well, 5 of the buttonholes while talking to my friend on the phone. Because it was a long conversation. And they went pretty quick. Time to lock in. Finished the project last night, and now it's time for the grand reveal. There's something very silly about filming an outfit video in public. I don't do it very often, and I always just feel so goofy doing it. I mean, I know no one's watching me, but it's still just a really interesting experience. I'm gonna give my final thoughts on the top now that I'm done with it. I think it is really cute, actually. I wasn't sure about the puff sleeves when I first beheld them, because like in the pictures they looked adorable, but when I was like sewing them together with the stiff denim, I was like, oh God, what have I done? But I think they actually look really cute and really striking. I like the sort of fitted nature of the lower part of the bodice, how it kind of looks like a little waistcoat or a little, like, I don't know, I guess it kind of reminds me of like how in the Edwardian era they would have like a little structured, or Victorian era, a little structured top with big sleeves that kind of came in at the waist and had like all the seaming and the buttons down the front, and then you imagine it would be paired with like a matching skirt or something fun. And it's kind of giving that kind of like antique bodice. It also sort of gives like Eastern European folk clothing or German folk clothing, like dirndl type stuff, in a way that I really like. I know the inspiration was like the rodeo, but I feel like it has a lot of other references in my mind for what it kind of conveys, and I think that is so cool. So the design I like the like neck, how the neck's finished. It was really simple. I like how you kind of do all the facings and the button pockets in one go. I think that was a super cool construction detail. I think the sleeves, I think it's fun how huge they are.
don't think I did the best job sewing this. I almost never work with denim, so I used the denim needle, but I don't know if that was the right choice. Because I kind of feel like I was making little holes in the fabric, so maybe I should have used the smaller, just my normal needle instead. But I just thought it'd be too bulky to fit through otherwise. And then in addition to that, as I was talking earlier, when I did the buttonholes, I kind of accidentally made all these little lines in the button placket. I tried coloring over them with a fabric marker, which I think helped a little, but I think the fabric's just too thick and it absorbed all the ink, and it's still kind of, it's like something you can only see up close, but it just looks really funky up close, like a little beat up. And I think the top in general is just not the best example of my sewing, because I was starting school and being a pattern tester and dealing with 3 separate health issues at the same time. So I think I just had, and trying to have a social life, just bit off way more than I could like chew, which is not an uncommon occurrence for me, so it's definitely a me thing and not the pattern's fault. And I also think because I make button-up tops so seldom, it was definitely like an interesting, I think I just hadn't done buttonholes in a while, so I didn't really know how to cut them, and maybe that's part of why they ended up like this. I don't know, I've never had it be quite so obvious that I like screwed up with these like little lines, and it kind of bothers me. Not enough that I won't wear this top, because like I said, I think it turned out really well, and I made it in like a very neutral fabric because I'm hoping to get more wear out of it. Rather than wearing it as just a shirt, I can also get away with wearing it as like a light jacket during transitional seasons like fall and spring. My vision was like to layer a long sleeved t-shirt under it potentially, or like a very thin long sleeve sweater under it. I thought could be really cute. I didn't do that for today's outfit just because I've noticed most of my fall outfits have left me feeling kind of sweaty because it's not actually that cold here. But then ironically today, Portland decided to deliver a crispy fall day, and I was here in my short sleeve top, my skirt, and a very thin linen jacket kind of shivering. So I don't know, I probably could have worn that long sleeve shirt under it, but I'm glad I didn't, so that way you could focus on like looking at the blouse and seeing the blouse. But like, other than the fact that my sewing on it, like my finishes aren't that great, my buttonholes got screwed up, I honestly think it's really cute, and I think it was a pretty easy pattern to put together, especially for button-down top. I really liked the button placket was already pre-attached to the front bodice pieces. I think that really gave something extra and made it super easy to make. And because I was using denim, I really liked not having to do a single interfacing for my entire shirt, because I hate ironing on interfacings. And I just think like if you like a cropped top that's probably meant for a high-waisted garment like what I'm wearing, my high-waisted skirt, then this is definitely worth a make. It could also be cute with a low-waisted shirt if you don't mind either or skirt or pants, if you don't mind layering or just like to show off some skin. But I think it definitely has the potential to integrate into my wardrobe. If you liked this video, I would love it if you hearted it, or subscribe to my channel, or follow me on Instagram at The Perfect Hour, so we can keep in touch, and or even just like leave a comment or something so we can chat. I don't know, like I had fun making this, and I would love to know if you had fun watching this, or if there's anything I should change, because this is my first time making a video like this. And thank you so much for bearing with me and watching my chaotic sewing journey of making this top that's going to be out really soon on October 15th on the Good Murphs Instagram and website. Anyway, have a good day. Toodaloo.